Uh, Hopefully you guys have your bottles poured and in front of you. If you do not and need the order, well, first I'll share this. Here's the blind one-pager PDF file if you want to follow along with us. And for the tasting order, let's see. We are starting with Waltzing with a Moscow Mule. Second up is Fit for a King. Number 3 is The Storm Before the Calm. Number 4 is called Heathery and Leathery. 5 is Raisin Coffee Jam. 6 is Seashells in a Box of Burnt Pencils. And number 7 is Coal Shards and Clotted Cream. As always, what we do on these blind tastings is we're going to taste through them once as a group. Harmony and I will chime in with our notes. You guys are more than welcome to type into the chat with your own notes as we're going along, what your thoughts on the whiskeys. Keep some in your glass and we'll go through it a second time right after that, revealing all the missing information, including where it comes from, which distillery made it, how old that bottle is, and how much it's going to cost you. Everything will be made available at the end of the tasting if you want to order online as well. So let's dive in and nose and then taste Waltzing with a Moscow Mule, which I think Andrew joked that this should be called a Kiev Mule now. I think I'm all for that.
Yeah. Well, with a name like that, I'm expecting a lot of ginger notes to come through.
I don't think I'd notice them without looking for them, but I can be convinced that there's some ginger notes on there. It's a little bit floral.
Yeah, like a garden. It's got nice grassy, leafy notes.
A little bit of like a fermenting sort of yeasty beer or dough note to it on there as well for me.
Yeah, I can see that. A little bit of fruit, like it's old fruit dropped from the tree, just kind of maybe going a little brown as it sits on the earth, a little bruised fruit.
Yeah, yeah, that's a good call. Yeah, it does have that sort of like apples that have dropped in an orchard note to it.
Oh yeah. The palate's got this like warm tingle. I haven't even looked at the ABV. Oh yeah, 62.2. That could be it. Well, lots of apple, like pear notes on the palate. Kind of sweet.
That still has a little bit of that yeasty floral note there too. Don't mind that at all. A little bit of spice coming out with that floral note too.
The ginger's on the palate as well.
I
think, yeah.
You added water, or are you going to wait for the second round?
I think I'll wait. That's a nice starter.
Yeah. I'm going to add water just for kicks. First time through here. Just a couple drops. Seems like a whiskey that's probably not going to change much. Though I wonder if there's a creaminess to it. Maybe I'll go a bit drier, a bit spicier.
That's very nice. I like that. That's my style.
Yeah. Yeah, actually it goes a little bit fruitier, which is not a bad thing. I didn't even read the stats out on this. So shocker here, we're starting with a first fill X bourbon barrel. It is 62.2% alcohol, 200 bottles, and from the 5th of December. But and we'll talk about this more maybe afterwards, but this Harmony mentioned before we got started, this is Giving Spirit bottle for the season. This is something that the SMWS Canada or Robin Kelly Carpenter do 4 times a year, where they select one bottle and the proceeds from it that they make go to charity, a charity of their choice. This one, especially given the name, it's pretty apropos that it's going to the Canada-Ukraine Foundation, specifically their humanitarian appeal branch, which I think is a good call.
Mhm.
Let's go on to number 2. Pretty quiet chat so far.
Mhm. This has got some
Maybe.
creaminess on the nose.
Mhm. So number 2 is called Fit for a King. Second fill expert barrel this time around, so maybe a little bit more distillate driven. Distilled on the 15th of September, 208 bottles from Outturn, 64.4% alcohol. So this might have been a high alcohol fill. I know in some cases, usually they're filling at around 63 or so, if I remember correctly. But sometimes they'll fill at 67 or 67.5.
Right. Hmm.
Very, very grain driven on this one for me.
Yeah. Yeah. It's still got that like apple notes coming through.
Mhm.
Kind of has a little like chamomile tea
Yeah, that's a
kind
good
of
call.
note.
Yeah, sunflower seeds along with that for me, and a
Oh,
bit of granola along with the grain notes that I'm getting. Maybe a touch of honey.
yeah.
Oh, Alec Farquhar says, did anyone almost get almost coffee grounds?
Like,
Yeah, I can see where you're going on that. There's so Society's notes mention spice green gage chutney made with using chili, turmeric, mustard seeds. So there's some interesting spice notes in there, and there's a dryness that comes out as well on the palate that almost
mhm.
goes into like coffee dregs for me.
Cool.
A little bit of a chocolatey note to go with those coffee notes on the finish there too.
Very spicy. I think I'm getting like a little bit of that like cream and like cheese note that I was getting. That creaminess kind
Mhm.
of coming through is kind of cheesy. Um, you had mentioned distillate driven. It does kind of have kind of like,
New Mick.
yeah, a new make note.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, they
Yeah.
mentioned cheesiness on here too on the notes from the society. Yeah, something maybe like going into
Mm.
like a softer version of Grana Padano, maybe, or you
Oh,
haven't cut into the wheel yet.
okay. I might add water to that one. Yeah, there's like some cool spices
Yeah.
on the palate with that.
It actually drinks pretty good for that high alcohol.
Yeah.
Um, does really nicely with water for me. A bit more of that chamomile and chamomile tea note coming out on the palate. Still keeps the spices. Maybe I think I'm seeing a bit more of that turmeric note that they're talking about with water as well.
Yeah, with water, it kind of reminds me of like some like really earthy, spicy gins that
Yeah.
that I've had.
Texture wise, like it's going into uh like a like the end or like a toned down version of a really spicy yellow curry sauce. It's a fun
Cool.
one.
That's nice. Yeah, I don't mind
Mhm.
that.
Okay, next up is we've got 2 spicy and dry in a row. That almost never happens. This
Yeah.
is number 3 is called The Storm Before the Calm. This is the first secondary cask that we've seen in the lineup so far. Started its life in an ex-bourbon hogshead. Final cask was a first fill Oloroso hogshead. 21st of September for the date. 251 bottles from the Outturn, and going way down by a little over 9%, or nearly 9% to 55.
Mm.
I remember having issues with this one when I first nosed it. It's very woody for me right now.
Yeah. Yeah, I can see that. It's not very expressive.
No.
And what it does show, I'm having a hard time kind of pinpointing.
Yeah. Trevor says, I agree, very woody and drying. A little bit of like Cracker Jacks, still in the cardboard box.
I was gonna say the
Uh,
box.
yeah, it's what I remember buying Cracker Jacks when I used to live in Creston, BC, way before 9/11. We used to ride our bikes uh, across the border. They didn't ask for ID or nothing. They just wanted us to have money so that we'd go spend it at the Port Hill gas station. We'd buy Cracker Jacks boxes, and they'd come with these mini baseball cards in them, and it smells like the baseball card with all its Cracker Jacks goodness sealed in it. Trevor
Very nice.
says musty dunnage. Alex says finishes
Yeah.
quite short.
Musty dunnage is a good note. I can see that for sure.
Wow,
Oh,
that's a lumbery dram. Really nutty as well. There is some sweetness to it, but there's like
it's
full on, like you're licking the hull of a ship.
it's like if you put the whipped cream from a can on like a freshly cut piece of wood
Yeah,
that that you just licked off.
yeah,
Wow. That's very dry. They did nail the category for this one.
yep. Yeah, I gotta add water to this after another sip because I'm wondering what's gonna happen.
Yeah, there's like that funkiness. It's just all over this.
There's some sweetness to back it up, and there's some like dried fruit notes in there, like going into dried apricots for me, but
Mhm.
it's all in behind the lumber.
Yeah, yeah.
Maybe it'll open up with time in the glass. Water really hasn't changed much. It's still pretty muted on the nose.
No, it's very dry, very woody. There is that fruit note. I can get the apricots. It's more like whatever pitted fruit you had, that pit is dried off. There's no flesh
Yeah,
stuck to it, and you
yeah,
try to
yeah,
suck the pit, and you're like, oh, this isn't, why am I
yeah.
doing this?
Yeah, it's almost like hazelnut shells. Um, it does have a bit of like an amaretto note in there coming from those stone fruit notes too, or the stone in the stone fruit notes.
Cool. There's quite a bit of tannins to this
Yeah,
as well. It
it's a chewy
really
dram.
sticks around. I don't know. I feel like
Yeah,
maybe this would be fun to cocktail. Like you could, I mean, I don't know the age or the price yet, but is this an old-fashioned
yeah,
territory? I don't know.
absolutely. Well, yeah, I'm super curious because now I'm wondering. I mean, I set the lineup order last week very quickly, and now I'm wondering why the hell did I put this at number three? But we'll have to try number four and see if there's a reason for that, I think. Let's go on to number four, which is called Heathery and Leathery, which makes it sound like it's going to be a dry dram as well. This is in the spicy and sweet category from the SMWS, though. Started to life in an ex-bourbon hogshead. Final cask was a first fill HTMC hogshead. HTMC stands for heavily toasted medium or heavy toast medium char. 22nd of November for the distillation date, 265 bottles from the Outturn, 57.6% alcohol.
Hmm.
Still pretty tightly wound. It's got a bit more fruit coming through.
Yeah, red fruit, red skins,
Yeah.
apple skins, crab apples, cranberries for me.
Yeah. Bit of
But I'm dude,
blackberry in there for me.
sure, yeah. It's very like farmy, like
Yeah.
work gloves and yeah.
There's a lot of wood in there again, but underneath that I'm getting like a cassis liqueur note. right now.
Cool. Mm. Ooh, that palate is spicy.
Mhm. Juicier than the last one, spicy, and it does go dry.
But it does have a
But
lot of
there's,
fruit.
yeah, it does make your mouth water a bit more than the last one did, or at least it does for me. Tons of
Hmm.
fruit, like again, those apple notes, apple skins, almost like a cidery note to it as well.
Yeah, cider's a good note. I'm getting like plums as well.
Yeah, like a blueberry jam note in there.
Well, it's like red
Blackberries again.
plums. Just
Hmm.
like nice honey sweetness on the palate. Trevor says
That's a nice
apricots
one.
on the finish. Yeah, this is very nice.
I wonder, I can't remember, and I'm looking at the blind book right now. I wonder what the age is on this because this seems like it could be a little bit older. Not in a black bottle, which is probably a good sign.
It's usually a good sign for our wallets.
Yep. But
Yeah,
yeah, really nice fruit notes in there.
I really like that. That's really nice. There's like I don't know what the finish is just very lovely, almost mineral, like touch
Yeah.
mineral.
And like just a hint of like eucalyptus in there, something cooling on the finish as
Yeah,
well.
yeah, that's lovely.
Just
It's
going
I
back to
added a couple drops of water and it becomes
cool.
more floral, I think. A little dry and like maybe I don't know if it's a suggestion from earlier, but like a little bit of that kind of coffee ground, um,
Hmm.
black tea. They're just like that tannin
On the
note.
nose for sure, like going into
Yeah.
black tea notes right now with water.
Mm, that's very nice. Very juicy too. It's
Yeah, it almost goes into like a grape and raisin note with water there.
yeah,
That's cool.
leathery
Um,
and leathery.
I am just going back to Storm Before the Calm just to see what happens here.
It's a funny name. I had to look twice. I'm like, is this our typo? And then I was like, no, it's the society.
There's a touch of like you're grilling waffles on the nose right now on this one. Very,
And
very grain different driven.
a touch of baker's chocolate on that as well. Just like
Hmm.
deep cocoa rich, like a high percentage, like 70-80% cocoa chocolate bar.
That maybe because we've had two dry and drams in a row, or three potentially. After having heathery and leathery, the storm before the calm is a little bit juicier on the palate.
Mm.
Goes into these light peach notes that I quite like on the palate too.
I wonder if we should switch those for the second round, if
Yeah,
that would be
maybe.
helpful.
We'll have to see.
Yeah.
Let's leave that for now and go on to number five, which is called Raisin Toffee Jam.
For all you
Uh,
people who like color, this has got it.
yeah, and this is from one first fill Oloroso butt. This wasn't the finish.
Ah,
However old it is, it spent its entire maturation in this first fill Oloroso sherry butt. Distilled on the 15th of March, 527 bottles from the Outturn. Pretty low ABV at 55 again.
this is like you are drinking a very oversteeped tea and a
Yeah.
fig Newton slash what is that chocolate bar that I don't like it. It's like very chewy and you can like pull it off and it's like chocolate
Oh
and
yeah.
there's like a
Like a eat more
jammy.
bar? Yeah.
No, not a eat more. It's not nutty. It's well, I'll think of it. Think of what it
It's
is. Big
Big
Turk.
Turk.
Thank
Yeah,
you.
good call.
That's
Uh,
it for me on the
Rum and
nose.
raisin ice cream, Trevor says as well. Turkish delight.
Yeah,
Mike B says good calls. This is like you poured that overly steep tea into like a gallon of maple syrup for me. Like it is so maple syrupy. It's like you put pancake syrup on that caramel corn. Like it just I feel like nosing it is gonna give me cavities.
Yeah, Derek, he said caramel corn. It's almost candy corn at
Yeah.
the same time. And it's like, yeah, okay, what's it taste like?
Yeah. A little bit of marmalade in there, stroop waffles.
Mm. I brought the Stroop waffle out.
Mm.
It's come up now in multiple tastings. That is like big,
Cool.
syrupy, toffee,
Yeah.
slightly overcooked caramel.
So chewy. Like that is a big dram.
Hmm.
It's interesting, and I don't want to give away what this was, but we recently had another indie bottling from this distillery that was pretty much universally reviled. Uh, but this one is showing better.
I'm curious to know what you're talking about.
Yeah, so much toffee and caramel on this. It's crazy.
Huge. Like caramel popcorn, even a little bit for me. 'Cause that's a
Hmm.
snack I love. Um, so syrupy.
Just adding
Kind of got a
water. I
little bit
don't
of
think it needs it, but
orange marmalade.
yeah,
But you're at
agreed.
like the end of your jar.
Yeah, butter ripple schnapps uh, on the nose and palate too,
Yeah, yeah.
with a little bit of SoCo just to give you that orange note.
That's very cool. That's a fun dram. I'm gonna make a little note here.
I'm kind of surprised that's Oloroso. I would have
Yeah.
almost guessed PX stylistically. Like it's drying more than PX is, but it's got those like caramel and syrupy notes to a
Hmm.
T.
Yeah.
Mm.
Even the chocolate that becomes more prevalent with PX sometimes.
Yep.
Yeah,
That's definitely a sherry lover's dram.
absolutely. Yeah,
Okay,
that's fun.
mhm. Let's go on to number six. Number six is called Seashells in a box of burnt pencils. Started its life in ex-bourbon hogsheads, was finished in one single first fill ex-bourbon barrel, distilled on the 18th of February, 246 bottles from the Outturn, 62.9% alcohol.
Hmm. Just the name, it just sounds like my teenage angst, burnt pencil crayons. Got a nice kind of like floral and sweet nose to it.
Yeah. Yeah, a touch of like, I think I used this last night as well, but like going into like almost like a tiger balm or camphor note, like slight medicinalness to it.
Cool.
A
Alex
little bit
says
coastal.
uh he's got a bit of like banana. I could see that. Definitely.
Hmm.
Andrew might even get sunscreen off this.
Yeah. It's got a
Yeah,
little bit of like a musty grain note on there as well.
yeah. The coastal's starting to come through for me a little bit more now.
Mm, wow. The nose is muted versus the palate.
Oh, that palette is big,
Yeah, that is
juicy.
cool.
Oh,
Like a
there's those
little bit
burnt
of like
pencils.
yep. But like a grilled smoky mushroom note to it.
Mm-hmm.
A little bit of peat and spice in there. It's got this like I don't know, the smokiness and the peat kind of just like move around the mouth a bit. They don't just stay in one place.
No. And there's like,
It's
oh,
cool.
Trevor has a nice note. The finish for him is like smoked sour lemon candy.
Lime candy,
Yeah,
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 that's a good call.
absolutely. Derek, the palette doesn't match the nose. No, it's a
No,
fun surprise. Like this is a huge palette,
yeah,
and there's so much going on.
that nose is like super tightly wound versus the palate.
It's got that nice like coastal seafood note
Hmm.
as well on the palette.
Man, that's a really fun palate. Like tons of sweetness in there too.
Hmm.
It's salty, but it's not like just bucket loads of salt like some of these coastal drams get. The salt is pretty integrated.
Can you get like salted honey the way you get salted
Yeah.
butter?
I was thinking like almost like a smoky miso note, like to go along with those mushrooms.
Cool. Getting a lot of that pencil wood
Yeah.
note, and I love how burnt it tastes.
It almost goes into like wasabi or horseradish territory on the palate. Like it doesn't
Cool.
have that same tanginess, but it has that heat.
Yeah,
I
I
added a
don't
few
know
drops of water just to see what would happen. Doesn't really, the nose is still so quiet.
So you're burning your box of pencils at night
That's right. Quietly.
quietly.
Mm.
Don't get caught.
I think it's better without water.
I know, I was gonna say I feel like
It's a
the
little
palette
bit saltier. Yeah.
is the nose disappeared with water
Yeah.
for me.
And the palate goes a bit saltier, but drier as well. It loses a bit of that sort of like effervescent, almost peatiness to it, smokiness.
I feel like it goes like very acidic,
Yeah,
acidic and dry with water,
yeah.
like
Well,
sucking on a lemon.
hopefully that'll reintegrate and
Yeah.
come back to close to where it was, because there's not a lot of like absolutely not with water drams out there, um, especially for something that's only seen ex bourbon casks. But
There
that
you
is one.
go. 62.9%. Like we've had some
Just
high
gotta
proof whiskeys.
Yeah, just got to
Yeah.
keep it at 62.9 on that one, I think.
Yeah.
Um, Last but not least, for our speed round here, let's go to number 7, which is called Coal Shards in Clotted Cream. Started its life in an ex-bourbon hogshead. Uh, Final cask was a first fill Oloroso hogshead, distilled on the 3rd of April. 317 bottles from the Outturn, 57.2% alcohol.
This
Oh,
is
wow.
like cheesecloths and oh man, there was this like not great instant chocolate mix.
Hmm.
Sorry. So my parents went through this big phase as Mormons tend to go through where they had to build up their food storage in case of the second coming and all the things that come with it.
Yeah.
And so my parents went through this thing where they had to like pack up all these like lentils and beans. And one of the things that my mom went over the top on was powdered milk. Um, it was awful. I remember like 2 years of my life having like powdered milk cereal every morning, and it was the worst.
Ugh.
It's like making instead of like the chocolate syrup, like the powder chocolate milk in powdered milk. That is what this nose is for me.
What is it with like hyper religious people having like an apocalypse fetish? Like I
Well, it's
just
because it's
don't get
coming.
it.
It's
Yeah,
the second coming. But
yeah.
first, the earth has to burn. So my mom and dad made sure that there was like enough food for us and the neighbors for like 8 months. But without the neighbors, it was like a year and a half.
See,
God didn't take any neighbors.
our hoarding of food usually had to do with uh collector cards. Like there were craft dinner boxes in the late 80s, early 90s where they had hockey cards on the back of the box. So we bought like cases and cases to collect the whole set, dumped out the craft dinners so we could keep the box uh, or the card. And it was the same thing with the Cracker Jacks. Like we had a stupid amount of Cracker Jacks for a long time. Nobody wanted to eat them. We just wanted the damn baseball cards that came in them.
Yeah, that's so funny.
That was my religion growing up, I guess.
When my parents, my dad had like a Coca-Cola addiction. So it was like his shame that he had like stacks of Coke in that same food storage locker next to the stacks of 5 gallons of water. But no, it's like I thought it started out with like, do you remember like dollar days at like Save On Foods and stuff where you
Oh
get
yeah.
like everything was like $1. So my parents would buy like 40 cans of beans or whatever
Oh,
the special was.
the best were $1.49 days when you went
Yeah,
to like was that Woodward's and then Zellers.
right.
And
Yes.
I swear it was like Christmas Eve for old people.
Yeah. My
Um,
dad would buy pallets of Coke, 2-liter
yep,
bottles of Coke.
yep,
So bad. Don't tell anyone. Like you're wearing your addiction in a sugar belly, dad. Like that's not a beer
yeah,
belly,
that's
that's a
right.
Coke
Everybody
belly.
can tell. Yeah,
Yeah. Sorry. Anyway, but the dram is
yeah.
lovely.
So I was getting some weird stuff on the nose. Like I was thinking that it's like dropping a box of crayons into like boiling French onion soup. Um, but
What?
hoisin sauce is mentioned in the society tasting notes. That's probably a better way of putting it.
Right. French onion soup with crayons or hoisin sauce.
Yeah, they're pretty much the same thing. Really salty and coastal again on the palate.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, maybe a bit fishier than the past one.
Meteor as
Not in a
well.
bad way. Meteor, yep.
Yeah. Is chocolate
Wild
covered
smokiness
bacon.
on the finish. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, Andrew would be catching that for sure.
Mm-hmm.
That's a tasty one. Also finishes a bit dry.
There's nice chocolate note. There's still some red fruits like berries and cherry notes on there.
Mhm. Still getting that Crayola crayon note.
Still getting that cheesecloth.
Mhm.
Very cool.
Yeah. Um,
Did we talk about the specs on this one?
no, actually I did mention so ex-bourbon hogshead to first fill Oloroso hogshead.
Okay.
So there's sherry cask influence to it.
Mm.
Um, a little bit of Ovaltine and then like weirdly Galliano liqueur on the palate, like this very vanilla driven note to it as well.
Cool.
That's a fun one.
Yeah. It has
This
a,
is
yeah.
this has been a pretty dry finish lineup so far. First time
Yeah.
through at least.
That's true. I mean, it's yeah, dangerous turn of events if this was called like the dry April outturn.
Hmm.
But it could be. It's very,
Yeah.
very interesting.
Well, let's go back to the beginning and we'll take our time with the tasting them all again and then doing the reveal.
All right.
So back to number one after the peat, going back to waltzing with a Moscow Mule.
Mm. Smells like so fresh. It still
Oh,
has that nice like garden note to
yeah.
it, but it seems brighter. Like,
Yeah, there was another, and I can't remember if it's a sister distillery. We'll have to find out after the fact, but I think there's another SMWS bottle that we still have some of called Reds, Greens, and Yellows
yes,
that this reminds me of.
absolutely, 100%. I was just thinking the same thing. Mm. Peach is more
Like that one
lemon
too.
this time than before.
Yeah,
Yeah.
but thinking of Reds, Greens, and Yellows, it does have this like Skittles note to it on the nose.
And a little bit more cranberry.
Hmm. Yeah, even yeah, almost like a cranberry meets ruby red grapefruit juice note.
Ooh. What are those
Touch
little
of
yellow berries with the leaves on it that
oh, gooseberries.
gooseberries?
Yeah.
I've been eating more of
Yeah.
those.
Hmm.
That's nice. I like that. You still get
Gooseberries
that
are
nice
the
ginger note still that comes through.
mhm. Yeah, it does have that on the palate on the finish, especially. Quite like that one. It's showing really, really nicely. Gooseberries are the parsley of garnishes on the fruit side, where nobody knows whether they should eat it or not, so it just stays on the board afterwards.
That makes sense because if Eli's working, he just like scarfs the meat down. If Jeff's there, the cheese is gone, and I'm
Yeah,
left with
you're
the
stuck
dried
with the gooseberries.
apricots and the
Yep.
fruit.
Yeah. Mm.
That's nice. I really like the finish. Like it's
Yeah.
very, very sweet, very fruity. It's got a little bit of that
I
uh,
think it's maybe a little bit. I'd have to try them side by side. It might be just a like a little bit more oak driven on the finish versus reds, greens, and yellows. But there's
yeah,
a definite through note between the two.
that's
Really
lovely.
want to side by side those. Okay, let's talk about the reveal. So, no shock that we are starting in Speyside on this one. This guy is 10 years old from the 5th of December 2011. And cast number is 39.265. So it is the 265th cask of liquid from the SMWS.
Cool.
And Lawnmowers Run Amok in the Orchard was another recent one we had from them. There
Yeah.
are some notes on that. I gotta look up now afterwards what reds, greens, and yellows is. I think it is a liquid. It's got to
It
be that or
is.
a
It was
Glenmossy.
April's liquid. Um,
Is it a sister cask?
it is a sister cask, so is Push
Cool.
Pineapple Shake a Bee. Um,
Nice.
so this has three sisters um,
Just
currently.
like the mountain
So
range. Yeah, very nice.
yeah, this is awesome.
Hmm. Yeah, fantastic starter. Um,
And just remember,
we're
it's our Giving Spirits bottle. So maybe
yeah,
even if it's not for you, it could be for a friend. It's a
yeah,
good cause, good excuse to buy and share whiskey this month and until it's gone.
absolutely.
What's the
And
price on this?
decent price on it as well. It's
Yeah.
143.99. We have been kind of spoiled for liquids over the last year or so, which I'm not complaining about. I love liquid in this sort of ex-bourbon style. We
Hmm.
also had a fantastic one that was finished in sherry.
Hmm.
Was it sherry or red wine from Single
Oh,
Cask Nation?
I think that was, I didn't do that tasting, but it
Or
might have been,
First fill sherry hogshead for 4 years. That was
okay.
a killer one. 18-year-old liquid that the Edmonton Scotch Club selected that is stunning. There's also our Berry Brothers liquid that's getting low. That goes a little bit more into the orchard fruit notes versus this one.
Mhm. And a little bit more grassy as well, which I really
Yeah,
like the balance of. Yeah.
absolutely. But yeah, another great, great liquid in an SMWS lineup.
Mm.
On to Fit for a King. A little bit more stone fruit notes in this one.
Add some water.
A bit of nectarine.
Cool. Add some water. It doesn't hurt it.
Hmm.
Um, you still got like I get a lot of apples, and almost even grape notes, like green grapes. And then the finish
Yeah.
you get a little bit more. The spices really come through, like even just like a nice, not a grainy, but like a Dijon mustard kind of note, and like
Hmm.
you mentioned earlier, I think turmeric and was
Turmeric is
around.
still coming through for me for
Yeah,
sure. Yeah.
yeah.
That's a cool dram. I just got to fix something quickly here. I just noticed there's a typo on this one in the with the ABV on the website. There we go.
How it
So this
kind of
guy,
goes a little jalapeno, like for me on the palate,
yeah, yeah, I can see where you're going with
like
that.
a
Like it has that sweet,
sweet
spicy note.
jalapeno jam.
Yeah. Or like not quite as sweet, but going into like banana pepper territory.
Sure, yeah, yeah. It's got something there.
Yeah. Yeah, I quite like that one. So this is a returning bottle. We did have this one in the first time it was in a lineup was what was the date? It was in
Where in my phone? Uh,
January of 2024. So quite a while back. Fit for a King, cast number is 95.86. And that makes it the 86th cask from Othrusk that we've had from the SMWS.
cool.
Othrusk is a tough distillery, at least for me. Harmony and I were talking about it before the tasting. It's to me, it's one of those distilleries where uh, you forget that it even exists until you have one again. There just isn't a lot of it around. Most of it, distillery wise, gets put into Johnny Walker. It's owned by Diageo. It's not a tiny distillery, but it's not massive. And they do sell off casks here and there, but there's not a consistent run of independent bottlings of Othrusk where we always have one around, really.
Yeah.
Most of the Othrusks I've had have been from the SMWS.
Mm.
This one is on sale and uh, will stay on sale permanently at 140.24.
Yeah.
Um,
Cool.
this is 12 years old as well. I was talking a bit about the mid-month SMWS blended by bargains tasting we're doing. There are going to be a total of about, is it 15 or 20 bottles from the SMWS that have been around for a bit where pricing has been readjusted both by the SMWS Canada and by Kensington Wine Market so that the pricing will be sale pricing until we sell through it, essentially. Just to try and move some older product that maybe a lot of people found was too rich for their blood or just wasn't showing as a value at the price it was. So hopefully with the new pricing
Yeah.
it does. Another reason to go to that mid-month tasting as well, because I think there's going to be some fantastic bottles in there. So yeah,
Yeah.
Fit for a King, originally 186.99, now 140.24.
Very cool. Yeah, this
Mhm.
is a nice like little 12-year-old. I really enjoy it.
Mhm.
The finish on this as it sat, it reminded me of elementary school. Our school is a bit older. We still had the wooden desks that
Mhm.
people had like carved into for 40 years with a little plastic
Yep.
tray underneath. And it just got a little, I always found like a little woody pencil shaving type note from Othrusk.
Mhm.
It always takes me back to the school ground for whatever reason. I
Nice.
was not drinking whiskey in school,
Yeah.
but it takes me there, and I
Yeah.
could
Boy,
enjoy
would have
it.
that made school more fun though.
I would have, my goodness.
Yeah.
Yeah, I might
Yeah.
have paid attention. I might have also just been drunk and in
Yeah.
attendance. So.
That's right. I gotta say, finish on that reminds me of Lynchburg Lemonades, stylistically right now.
The Jack Daniels,
Yeah. Yeah, with that
nice.
spiciness and a bit of wood in there with the juiciness.
I totally could see that.
Yep.
I was a big fan of that lemonade. Their hunch punch sucked.
Okay, back to let's see what the storm before the calm is nosing and tasting like now. Has it changed?
Nuttier for me.
Oh yeah. Yeah, full on walnuts right now. Like almost into like a walnut liqueur.
Sorry, Evan, we can't hear you so clearly.
Oh, can you hear me now?
Yes.
Okay. It could be my Bluetooth earphones are going here.
That's better. Yeah, we got you back.
See if this is any better. Hopefully this doesn't echo on anybody. Just let me know if it does. Um, yeah, it's going into like a walnut note and walnut liqueur territory on the nose for me.
Cool. Yeah, there's kind of like a dampness to it,
Mhm.
like a little bit of damp wood. Um, there's some spices there, like a tingling, whether it's
Mhm.
like ginger or chilies. Like I'm not quite sure, but there's a nice kind of spiciness.
There's a slight tanginess with it too. It's almost like you bit into a lemon seed in your gin and tonic.
I don't put seeds in their gin and tonic. I mean, that's terrible.
Oh, I used to be a bartender, but I'm a very lazy bartender when it comes to dr pouring drinks at home.
Yeah, here's your G&T with garnish. It's at the
Yep,
bottom, but it's
that's right.
there. Yeah.
It's just a little bit of like fiber. It's okay.
Yeah. There's like going into that just like polished wood or waxed wood note.
Hmm.
And like a hint of Worcestershire sauce.
Yeah, that's a good call. Like almost like a smokiness coming with the
Just
wood.
a hint of savoriness on the nose.
Yeah, yeah, good note. It's still tightly wound. It has opened up a
Yeah.
little bit on the nose. Palate's gotten a lot juicier for me, where it's not just full on dry and spice.
Yeah.
And there
I
are
would
some
agree.
fruit notes and underneath there. Now it's not just all wood.
Kind of got like a fruit salad note with like a melon fruit salad.
Yeah.
Um, watermelons, cantaloupe, honeydew kind of notes
Hmm.
for me going on.
Yeah, that's a good call. Few apples sliced in there.
Hmm.
Hey, this guy, or the storm before the calm. We are in the Highlands now. This guy is 15 years old. And this cast number is 55.82. It's the 82nd cast from Royal Brackla Distillery, bottled by the SMWS. Spent 12 years in the next bourbon hogshead before being transferred to a first fill Oloroso hogshead. Uh, ABV of 55%, of course. Distillation date was the 21st of September 2007. 211.99 is the price on that guy.
You don't see a lot of Royal Bracla
No,
uh,
we've
from
gotten a
any
few.
independent bottler.
We've had a few recently from the SMWS, not a ton. We have
Uh,
beyond the SMWS. There hasn't been
the
much, but we've
yeah,
had a couple of younger ones. We had dovetailed marshmallows recently,
oh
uh,
yeah,
rhubarb
chocolate red
crumble.
currants or something was
Yeah,
one.
that one was I liked.
Yeah.
There is one that I quite liked last year that I think we still have bottles of that's going to go on sale.
Oh.
Was that called the Stages Set? Might have
Oh
been.
yeah. Yeah. I did like that one. That
Yeah.
was good. I think that's the challenge with that one was it was also just in a really good outturn and you had to
Yeah.
kind of pick your battles. I don't know many people who are like lit up about Royal Bracla. uh, as
Yeah,
distillery.
exactly.
And there's nothing wrong with them. It's just,
Yep.
yeah,
Yeah, they're even their official bottlings just kind of get lost in the shuffle.
it can happen. Yeah.
Okay, back to Heathery and Leathery.
Yeah, I find this nose, or maybe it's my lingering cold, but I do find it a little bit tightly wound still.
Mhm. Heathery and Leathery sounds like the S&M version of like a buddy comedy series.
Yeah.
Definitely more fruit and berry forward on this one. A little bit of like Earl Grey tea coming through, like a cream of Earl Grey, I'd say.
Ooh, that's a cool. Earl Grey is not a bad note.
Mm, I
A
like
little
that
bit of,
palette.
yeah, the palette's really nice. It's open, it's changed quite a bit. Um, there's this nice chocolate. Um,
Mhm.
I don't know what else. There's definitely something else underneath that chocolate that's very lifting.
There's a bit of ginger candy
Vibrant.
to it. There, peasant cheese for a while. I don't think they still have it, but they had like some dark chocolate with dried ginger pieces in it.
Okay.
That was fantastic. This one has a bit of that where it was like that candied ginger note. It's got some nice like stone fruits underneath there again. Still go
Yeah.
pretty berry heavy as well. That is tasty.
Yeah. Yeah, I like the saltiness. It's just enough that it's there, but it's not like drying out your mouth. It the minerality to it to me, it's like you're sucking on a stone a little bit.
Yeah, it does have that.
Yeah. And you just ate some chocolate.
Mhm. Good chocolate. Yeah. Um, yeah, I like that one a lot. Uh, we are still in the Highlands on this one. This guy is 11 years old. Cast number is 78.83. Distilled on the 22nd of November 2012. Um, nice use of that HTMC hogshead. Like it's not like we've had a few that are like pretty heavy on the char notes and stuff. This
Yeah.
one doesn't quite go there. It's much more on the fruit side of things, which I quite enjoy.
Yeah.
Pretty good price on this at 164.99 as well. Distillery number 78. Is that
Ben Nevis.
right?
Yeah. Yeah, we don't, I mean,
I don't know if I would have been able to blend that as Ben Nevis at all.
no, I had no clue.
Mhm.
I had no idea until I saw Kelly's email, and she said that this was the sister cast to the Las Bodegas de Fort William
Nice.
from August 2023. So like
That
it's
was a
been a
popular
while.
bottle. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. So I had no idea. It doesn't, I don't know. Maybe I don't know enough of Ben Nevis because a lot of people bottle it very young
Yeah.
and very like I always find it overdone in sherry for my
Yeah.
liking a lot of the time.
Yeah, the HTMC hogshead again, I think you're right. Like it does it some favors where it's not just big dumpy sherry. Um, I guess like nosing it again after knowing it's Ben Nevis, it has a little bit of Dika from the barrel to it.
Yeah, I wanna side by side this with our exclusive SMOS
Mhm.
Ben Nevis.
Hmm. Yeah, that's a good one.
That'd be fun.
Yeah, quite like that
165
one.
bucks, not bad.
Hmm. Lower ABV versus some Ben Nevi. We've had from the SMWS recently too. We've
Yeah.
had a few that were like 64 and 65 and higher ABV. This one's only 57.6, but just like kind of mellow for a Ben Nevis as well.
Were
Really
those
good stuff.
younger too? I don't know if you can remember, but Ben Nevis is always seems to be very young in the
Yeah.
market.
Well, and I think it's partially because for a long time there wasn't a lot available except for like older product, like everybody talks about 96s and
Yeah,
97s because there were some that were put on the market and then bottled after a time, but haven't seen a whole lot beyond that except for like 2010s stuff.
you're keeping all the old stuff for the Nika from the barrel blend.
That's right. It's already been sent to Japan.
Yeah.
Okay, back
Cool.
to raisin toffee jam.
It's oh,
Is it still all
it's
caramel all the time?
it's like soupy caramel or like more
Yeah.
toffee. Like it's not
Yeah.
like everything is overdone.
Yeah.
Yeah, like um, it's more like oh, it says I didn't see that. It's more Madeira than sherry.
Yeah, that's a really good call.
Yeah, and I just see that now in the notes. I try not to open and read them till later, but it is like it's got a little bit more of those like tannins and spices.
Yeah.
Um,
Peter's Drive-In Butterscotch Milkshake, Mike B says. Nice.
I don't
I just go banana. That's anytime I can get banana and ice cream together. That's usually what I go for, even if it's fake flavor banana.
really.
Um, but there's underneath the toffee, like there's just a slight nutmeg note that reminds me of pumpkin pie.
How cool.
Yeah, with a shitload of whipped cream on it. Actually, the pellet's gone like it's still very toffee driven, but the
Yeah.
toffee's lightened up on it.
Yeah. I I added a couple drops of water on the first round and I like it.
Yep.
It's very decadent, very desserty,
Yeah. Fudgy.
fudgy, yeah.
Little bit of like caramel apple on there.
Yeah.
Hmm. It reminds me of a cast sample of tomatin that I had like 11 years ago now, where it was a we got cast samples when I was at Willow Park to select a tomatin cask. And I loved this cask and we didn't take it. Um, so I don't know what happened to it, but it had all these caramel notes like this one.
That reference to tomatin is so bang on.
Well, and there are notes of we had like a Tomatin PX single cask a couple years, 3 or 4 years. That was COVID times.
I was just gonna
Yeah,
say pre-COVID
yeah.
when I worked at World of Whiskey or co-op, I don't remember what time it was, but we also had a PX tomatin that shared very
Mhm.
similar notes to this. Very cool. But this isn't PX, this is Oloroso, but
And it's also not Tomatin, shockingly, with
it's
all this
not.
Tomatin talk. We're not in the Highlands. We're in Speyside again. This is a Glenlivet. This
What?
is something like I think Kelly said like the seventh or eighth Glenlivet ever from the SMWS Canada.
Wow.
So cast number 2.138. 16-year-old Glenlivet, entirely matured in a first fill Oloroso butt. So this is almost like a cast strength version of a single cast version of Glenlivet Nadura, is what it comes down to. A
Cool.
little bit more expensive at 247.99, but if raisin toffee jam is your jam, this is the bottle for you.
Yeah. Yeah. I brought up Kelly's note. She said this is only the sixth we've had in the 14 years, the last one being 2.128 Navy Strength Sherry from December 2021.
I remember that one. Yep, that was a good
Navy
name.
Strength. That's cool. I quite enjoy Glenlivet.
Hmm.
It was my gateway whiskey. Oh,
Very good stuff.
yeah. They did like the Captain's Reserve in a cognac cask, and I loved that one.
Nice. That's cool.
Yeah.
Okay, back to seashells and a box of burnt pencils.
Interesting. To me, this smells like they burnt the pencils in a seashell.
Mhm. Still mushroomy for me. I don't know what it is about it, but mushroom and miso all over the place.
I get that.
And just a hint of wasabi on the nose too.
Cool. I avoid wasabi.
I'm not a wasabi fan either. Wasabi and horseradish, I just do not like.
Yeah.
If I'm having sushi though, it's like keep on bringing the pickled ginger. So I'll have as much as I'll have more of that than the actual roll by the end of it.
Very fun. It's kind of that like vibrant sweetness is kind of blown off. It still has like a nice floral and very coastal
Mhm.
saltiness. The seashell in the title seems to be coming out more for me on the second round.
There are there's a bit of the nose that makes me think Loch Lomond on this one, like going into like Crofton territory,
Oh.
but it's not. Um, we are
I
in the
would,
Orkneys, and we've had a few different casts like this over the time. This is SMWS 4.344, the 344th cask of Highland Park from
wow.
the SMWS. And we've had what I was mentioning with the casks is that where does it say it here? Move variety, different maturation. So there have been, ooh, I think we're hitting a handful now of casks that were like this that we've had from the SMWS, where they started in hogsheads, were married together, and then transferred into separate ex-bourbon barrels after that. And I've loved the entirety of the series. They've all been really, really good. The nose is a bit tighter on this one
Mhm.
versus other ones, but it is so flavorful and just packs this wonderful sweetness with the peat. Really, really enjoyed that one.
Um,
But 18th of February 2010, 169.99 for this guy, for this 12-year-old.
mhm. And if you're filling in the blanks, after 7 years of age, it was combined to select cask from the same distillery. So
Yeah.
very yummy. I don't know if I would have pegged this as a Highland Park personally. I kind of thought it was more Isla and maybe
Mm.
Kalila.
How it kind of goes into Highland Park territory, but yeah,
It
it's
does.
not, it
But
doesn't
now that,
scream it. Yeah.
yeah, now that you say it, it's like, oh yeah, sure.
It's
Makes
also
sense.
because we had a bottle named Heathery earlier in that was like a red herring. So it's thrown us all off the Highland Park trail.
Yeah.
Okay, last but not least, let's go back into cold shards and clotted cream.
Mm. Hmm. It kind of reminds me of like chicken noodle soup.
Yeah, I could see that. Still a little bit crayony for me as well, but it's going into like getting the surf and turf at the keg, even with like a buttery béarnaise sauce on it.
Yeah, lots of butter. Um,
Touch of dry mustard and green onion, like chives on there too.
Evan, can you post the link for number 6 in the chat for Mike
Yes,
BC?
absolutely. Thank you for, I've been neglecting on that side. I will post the link for all of them together after this. Um, so fear not if you are looking to purchase bottles. There's number
Yeah.
6 for you, Mike.
It's okay that you're enjoying yourself, Evan.
Yeah. Yeah, if nobody else can, at least I should.
That's right.
That's why I do these tastings. So
Little
we are on Isla for this one. I think some people could blind this. It doesn't show exactly like a lot of the stuff we've had from this distillery, but there are earmarks to it, I'd say.
Absolutely.
Anybody want to guess in the chat before I reveal where this is from? Which Isla distillery this is?
Just mouth the words so we know you're there.
Yeah, yeah. Extra points
Yeah.
for correct spelling.
Oh,
Nielsen's Ardmore, I can see where you're going with it. Ardmore is in the Highlands though, not Isla. Not Bowmore. Alec, good guess though. Derek, you are right. It is Kalila, and you did spell it right. So congrats. Trevor also got it, and Cameron. Cameron, no, we saved the Kalila for the end as we often do. So this is cask number 53.457, the 457th cask of Kalila from the SMWS.
yeah, that chocolate bacon totally gives it away for me.
Does.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah, very barbecue driven. We've been seeing these sherry cask finish Kalilas recently. I still am more of a fan of the ex-bourbon casks that we were getting before this.
Yeah.
I love that sort of mezcal margarita note that most of them had, but this one's quite good
Mhm.
as well. It is 9 years old. Spent 6 years in an ex-bourbon hogshead before transfer to a first fill American oak Oloroso hogshead. For the remainder of its maturation, $184.99 is your price. 3rd of April, 20. I think I better check that. That doesn't quite look right for a 9-year-old for me, unless we've gone back to the future.
Well, they could have bottled it a while ago. Um, I'm trying to remember if this was the
Yeah,
bottle that had,
2013.
oh,
If it was a
2013.
2018 bottle, we'd be in 2027 or 2028 now.
I was trying to remember what bottle had the Chinese label on the back and was like, well, maybe it's just
That's right.
from there to here, but
Mhm. Yeah, fantastic bottle. 184.99 for that guy.
yeah.
Here is the link for the Kalila. And because I was extremely neglectful, here's all 7 bottles for the April Outturn. If you guys are looking to purchase. That was a fun tasting. Definitely a little bit on the dry side for some of them, but there were some ones that I really enjoyed in there. I think well, we usually don't say personal favorites, but despite the name, I really like the first one there.
Yeah, I really enjoyed the first one too. And like, I mean, I'm surprised at myself, to be honest, that the raisin toffee jam I did really enjoy.
Mhm. Agreed. That's not usually the type of dram I go for right now, but
Yeah.
uh, all that caramel, maple candy, and toffee was makes it a fun dram.
Yeah, it's like a gooey little dram in all the right ways.
Mhm.
Ah, lovely. Right
Right
on.
on.
Well, that was fun. I look forward to doing this again in 2 weeks.
Yep,
Yeah.
absolutely. Yeah,
Cool.
check that mid-month virtual blind outturn with the sale bottles if you haven't already. Um, if we don't see you then, hopefully we see you guys soon. Maybe at the Gordon MacPhail tasting that's happening next Tuesday. Thank you all for joining us, and thank you, Harmony, for doing this as well once more with me. And we will see you all soon.
Thanks, Evan.
Yeah, cheers,
Bye.
guys.